So welcome to Two Expats Abroad. This is the place for those who know they want more freedom, more control, and more out of life, but might feel stuck on where to start. We break down the mindset shifts, decision-making skills, and real-world strategies to help stop overthinking and start taking action. No fluff, no BS, just straight talk on what actually moves the needle. If that sounds like you, we're glad to have you here.
Very glad to have you here. And I guess where do we go in our first episode, Rob?
So today I thought we'd talk about mindset for the first episode because mindset is vitally important to everything in life, I would say. And I've had both a good mindset and a bad mindset.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree with that. I very much remember the old version of Kieran and now, obviously, where I am now today, which I'd like to share with as many people as possible.
Exactly. And I think we're going to rest a lot upon Carol Dweck's work. Her book, Mindset, is really important. She talks about growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And in some ways, we have a bit of both. We've got like a fixed mindset here, growth mindset there. And in many ways, it's we have both in our lives. So it's thinking about how we can improve and how we can grow.
And in terms of, so if we was to position fixed versus growth, like what does a fixed mindset prevent you from doing?
Well,
or what does a growth mindset allow you to achieve as well?
So if you've got a fixed mindset and you'll say things to yourself like, I'm not good at this, or I can't do this. And you'll prevent yourself from moving forward in whatever direction you want to go in.
Yeah, something that I hear all the time is I'm just bad with money.
Yeah.
And they just kind of accept the fact that they're bad with money rather than thinking, okay, how can I improve on this? How can I grow? How can I change my behaviors, my habits, and ultimately change our future as well?
Well, that was the thing. Like I worked in a job I really, really didn't like for 15 years. And towards the end of it, I was just so glad I was getting out of there. And it was a big worry for me on leaving was, am I going to be able to do anything else? I was very fearful. I had a fixed mindset in terms of being able to be skillful enough to provide value in a market where there's lots of uncertainty.
And would you say, obviously you're talking about being in a job that you hated for 15 years, like that's a serious amount of time, like a lot of resilience that you showed through those periods. But where would you say it started to change? When do you recognise that you had a fixed and when do you recognise that you had a growth mindset?
Yeah, so there's epochs of time, I would say, and this happens for everybody in their life. There's epochs where you realise, you know what I mean? This is not working for me. I'm not feeling this. I am not loving who I am through a transition. And that's the catalyst a lot of the time for people to say, I need to make a change here. So what I would say is a lot of people would recognize a fixed mindset in their life where they may feel that they've plateaued or they have hit a wall in terms of being able to move forward in some way. And they realize that something has to give, something has to change. And the place that all begins is in your mind. And it's around the beliefs that you have. It's what you allow into your mind to believe as real, to say, I am, or I should, or I can. Usually people with a fixed mindset are saying, I can't, I shouldn't, or I won't. And unfortunately, they're affirming what they don't want.
And I guess that kind of leads nicely to say why we are here today and why we will be doing more of these is because when I was 16, 17, 18, and I was so fortunate, and I'll always say this, that I had a very close family member who was a coach, a professional coach who helped me out of tricky waters. I had a really fixed mindset. I totally believed the narrative that you hear at school, which is you're rubbish at this, you're rubbish at exams, you don't apply yourself, you mess around all the time, you're going to be a failure. So I believed that was a narrative inside my head. And that was quite fixed. And then obviously through speaking to a coach who helped me realise that actually I do have a skill set that I can leverage and that I can use for my good and move forward with. So for me, it's making sure that you're in the right places, in the right environments, and speaking to the right people, rather than just completely believing the narrative that you've got inside your head, and that that other people put on you as well.
Exactly. And sometimes it does take having a conversation with someone who has a little bit of wisdom to be able to parse out what is going on in terms of your mindset, because awareness is key. A lot of the time we're not aware of what is rolling around our mind, and we normalize the negative, and all of those fixed ideas in our mind create atrophy in our life and stillness and an inability to move forward.
And the example that you gave earlier, like, that's a very, very common example. People stay not in one job for necessarily 15 years, but they stay in a career for 15, 20, 30 years.
Exactly.
And they've always got that niggling bit of doubt, thinking, am I wasting my potential? Or could I have done this? Could I have done that? And then they feel like it's too late. And the person who arguably inspired me most was somebody I met in Italy. And I spent 3 weeks with her. So I was in this location, really remote location. There's about 18 kind of digital nomads. So all working from the businesses, from the laptop, traveling the world, seeing the world. And she used to be in a job that she absolutely hated, similar to 10, 15 years, in a relationship that was no longer serving her. And she said when she was 38, she retrained to become a website developer. So at 38, she'd had a solid career. I think she was in sales, making loads of money, but unfulfilled. And she realised that with the sales job that she was in, she couldn't travel the world. And at 38, she decided to retrain to become a website developer with a skill set that can take you around the world. And I just thought, wow, like, if you're in that place and you're 38 years old, you can still change. You can still apply a growth mindset and break from that fixed mindset. So does that kind of resonate with your story? You was much younger than 38, I believe, but...
Yeah, but I work with people who are in their 50s now, and they're making those types of changes. There's no cap on when you can begin to grow or move in a new direction in your life. And that's what I would really encourage people to get rid of in their mind. We have this belief, I don't know where it comes from, call it cultural, call it whatever you want, that once we are in a career or we do something for long enough, it's like it has to be that way forever. And that's a very fixed mindset sort of belief that a lot of people have in many areas of their life. Like they'll tell themselves, I'm not athletic. I can't go to the gym. I can't run. Or I'm not the type of person who cooks for myself. You know, I eat out. I get takeouts.
And I've been in that place where you're working, and you're not cooking nutritional meals, and you're just kind of surviving almost, living day to day, and it eats away at you. If you do that for a month or two, you just get sapped of energy because you're not conscious of what you want to achieve and what you're working towards. You're just kind of like lost in the day to day.
Yeah, and you know the opposite end of that is if you do it for a lifetime, you'll end up very sick. And you know that's the dark side of all of those fixed, because they are fixed beliefs. It's a fixed mindset. It's a belief about your identity. This is who I am. I do this, and it becomes habitual. And over time, there's consequences for taking all of those decisions every day, every week, unfortunately. So in terms of why we're doing this, you know, I think for me, I've been coaching for 10 years. For you, you've been in careers that you've not liked, right? And now you're doing something that you really love.
Yeah, it's nice to speak to people like yourself that probably endured it a lot longer than I did. I literally only lasted 9 months in full-time employment before realising, but this is why I'm here with you, is because I was very, very fortunate. I had a coach. And obviously I know that you're a coach and you provide life-changing moments for several people, monthly, daily, weekly, whatever. And the importance of having somebody who can get you from a certain place where you're not happy to another place where you're thriving. And honestly, like, my coach was life-changing for me. So I realised that I was capable of way more way earlier than, say, the kind of average person. So I've had my own business, obviously, since I was 21. And I've had several since. And obviously now I'm in a place where I'm really, really happy. Living abroad, obviously got my own business, several businesses, and yeah, doing things that I actually wake up and really want to do with my life.
Exactly. And what I want to connect to and help people connect to is, because they'll all have that question and it'll probably become into their awareness in terms of pain. People are feeling a pain. So can you remember the pain that you felt when you were on your knees in lofts doing...
Okay. Yeah. No, it's a great question. Like, that's when I first went to... She is a coach, but she's my auntie. So let's just say that. So in our family house, if you was kind of struggling or you weren't quite happy, or even if you needed help with a CV, it was like, go and speak to Auntie Margaret, go and speak to Auntie Margaret. So that's what I did. I went in a time when I was frustrated, lost, confused with what I wanted to do. I was an apprentice electrician. I'd left school with all my GCSEs, but barely scraping through. I didn't achieve my targets. So my story was that I can't go to sixth form in university because I'm rubbish at exams. That was the story, the narrative in my head. So I went to be an apprentice electrician, and then 6 months climbing through lofts, on my hands and knees, changing sockets, changing light bulbs. I just thought, no, like...
Yeah, but what was that? What was that no? What were you experiencing? What was the feeling?
It was just monotonous. It was just the daily grind of being in the same place, doing the same thing.
And were you saying something like, if I keep doing this for the rest of my life, I'm going to be unfulfilled? Is this something 100%. Like that?
100%.
Yeah.
I looked around and, like, with the greatest of respect, I looked around at the people that I was working with and they were all miserable.
So that's where most people become aware of something has to change, right? Their life is on autopilot, you could say, in many ways. And that awareness that you had there to say, no, I'm not accepting this for myself, that becomes the catalyst for your change. And out of that is a reservoir of motivation that you could probably still to this day draw upon. Because you know, 100%. This is horrendous. I'm not doing this anymore.
What's really funny now is, obviously, I'm in a place where, like, I'm incredibly happy. I'm living abroad. I'm working for myself. I don't need to look at my diary and put anything in that I don't want to put in there. And then sometimes, like, I'll walk past a building site and I'm just so grateful that I'm not, you know, and this is me and it's not the same for everybody, but so grateful that I'm not in the pissing down rain, like in a big winter coat, like getting battered by the storms and the weather. And like, that could have been me. Like, another version of me is still there doing that 15 years later. And I'm just so grateful that I made the decisions that I made. And like you say, the catalyst for change was I looked around and thought, I don't want this for me. I don't want this for my future. Like, I want more and I want it now. So then I went back into education, the place where I thought I was no good for, and I thrived.
Yeah.
And the reason I thrived is because I didn't have a fixed mindset anymore. I knew what I wanted from life. I sat down with my coach and she said, what do you want? Where do you want to go? What do you see yourself doing? What do you enjoy doing? And this is what a coach brings, I believe, is better quality questions.
Yeah.
They ask you questions where you reflect on them, you sit with the silence and you plot your future moves. That's what a coach brings to your life. And that's why I'm so passionate about everybody speaking to one at some point in their life.
Yeah, because by default, we unfortunately don't ask ourselves deep questions. And it kind of takes that sort of intervention from somebody to have a conversation with you and get you to consider something that you've probably never considered before. That's really important.
And so that's kind of what, so she asked me, what do I enjoy doing? And I was like, well, I think at the time I was watching Dragon's Den. I enjoyed business. I was watching The Apprentice, again, business-related program on TV. And so I knew I was fascinated by business and the world of money and finance. But then I also absolutely loved sport. I was coaching a football team at the time. I was playing to a respectable level. So I thought, okay, like, that's what I enjoy doing. And again, my coach said, well, how can you create that for yourself in your next move? If you're going to stop being an apprentice electrician, what are you going to do next? I was like, okay, I'm going to go to college. And what courses did college provide? Well, they have business and they have sport. So I did that. Then I did okay. I got through college, went to university, did business and sport. did 3 more years, and I absolutely excelled. Like, I got a first in my dissertation. I passed all of my exams. Like, honestly, like, I could not believe that Kieran existed compared to the Kieran at school that failed almost everything in year 10 and then luckily scraped through in the last year. So you can change and make drastic changes overnight if you're sat with somebody that's asking you the right questions or asking those questions yourself.
Yeah. So some of the questions that people might be asking themselves or not asking themselves right now might be, how do I get out of this situation, right? And awareness is the key, because there's probably a set of beliefs and set of things that you're saying to yourself and narrating to yourself over and over and over again that are keeping you stuck.
And is that a good place to kind of talk about who, not how? Because you've just asked a question that a lot of people probably ask themselves, which is, how do I get away from this situation? How do I change my environment? And they're constantly asking how questions instead of thinking, who do I know that's got the life that I want? Go and hang around with them. Go and ask them what they do. Go and ask them what their habits are. Ask them what they eat, who they spend their time with, how they conserve their energy. And
so I can already preempt a limiting belief and a fixed mindset that will stop people from doing that. They might say, I don't want to annoy people. I don't want to be a pest.
Most people love to help.
Exactly.
People say that to me all the time. Like, they're grateful for my time, and I appreciate that. Like, it's nice for them to show gratitude, but they're always like, I know you're busy, and I know that I don't want to take up too much. No, take it.
Yeah.
Like, please, most people do really want to help. And if they can, it almost satisfies that person's ego as well. It's like, somebody's coming to me to ask me for help. It must mean that
you're assuaging their ego, and it makes them feel good. Of course.
Yeah. So honestly, like, that will be a fixed belief. People are, I don't want to bother them. Bother them. Like, or don't bother them, but just polite.
Challenge your belief that you're being a pest or you're being annoying, because most likely you're not.
No. Yeah. Be polite, be respectful, and most people have got time.
Exactly. So that, if we're going to put out a call to action to people, I would say do that. Challenge some belief that is holding you back from becoming who you want to be. You know which direction you want to grow in. What needs to happen? What are you not doing currently that if you did it, it would change your circumstances over time?
100%. And I think it's probably important to just remind kind of listeners that there's 2 books that have come up here. There's Mindset by Carol Dweck, which is fixed versus growth, or the introduction of the concept. And then there's Who, Not How. Forget the author of that one.
So do I.
You're usually really good at that stuff as well. But no, they're 2 really important takeaways, I would say. And just either get around somebody that's going to ask you better questions of yourself to reflect upon, or try and find what those better questions, healthier questions are. How do I change my environment? Or who do I know that's in an environment that I want to be in, that I can ask a couple of questions?
Exactly. And in our next episode, we'll talk more about getting out of that stuckness and what even that means. Because, we all fall into pockets of stuckness, and it can be really annoying and uncomfortable. So I think people need a bit of help there.
Yeah, no. Well, thank you very much for...
Thank you. Let's call it a day, and we'll see you all again soon.